Hey guys, in this spot we're going to be checking out the new NECA Toys Aliens Warrior Alien. Alright, so basically because this guy is using the older Alien sculpt, he's a lot easier to stand than some of the newer sculpted releases. He stands at 9 inches tall. That's if you want to stand him completely upright without posing him. The Xenomorph here stands at 9 inches tall. Now this particular release from the folks over at NECA Toys is from under the Kenner banner. So basically this is depicting some of the older Kenner figures that we've got in the past, certainly of course now with the new NECA articulation and sculpt. From a standpoint of figure releases, we've sort of gotten this figure before. I mean, through many of the incarnations and many multiple releases of Xenomorphs, specifically from the original Alien line, we've gotten this guy before. We've also gotten before also in a green motif, which I've done a review of. And I have to say that even though they are basically double dipping in this case probably triple dipping the mold revisit, giving it a brand new coat of paint, and specifically a translucent paint, translucent plastic as well, in the blue, really makes this figure fantastic. It, of course, there's not really much different between this if you were to go like this and bring in the other figure, which I can't find the original figure mold that this was used from. But it's basically like an exact copy to the other figure release. So nothing really new from that standpoint, but what you do though get is this fantastic translucent ice blue. Dare I almost say it makes the figure look absolutely delicious. Like, if you were just to lick this figure, which I wouldn't recommend doing so, it would, I'd imagine it would just taste like a blue raspberry icy. It's got some great frosting coloring to it, because basically most of the figure is this color here, basically this translucent blue. In some areas it's a little bit more apparent translucent than versus the other areas, and then what they've done over top of that is just simply given a dry white paint over top of that. So areas around kind of the outer edge of the forearm, the outer leg, and torso specifically have a nice additional frosted white added to it. What they've also done too is they've given a frosted dome to the top of the Alien, and it seemed as if you could remove it, but I wouldn't probably entertain trying to take this off, for fear that it could crack the plastic. It seems like it might have already been cracked a little bit, but I think it's just the way it was constructed over top of the head. And even though it is frosted, you can still slightly make out the eye sockets of the skull inside that dome. When I got this out of packaging, I did notice that the lower jaw was disjarred. It was this part here, the little tab point, was popped out. I can't imagine that be on every single figure release, but I just had to pop it back in, and it works. No damage, no fuss, no muss. It does still have the interior jaw, which can be a little difficult to try to get out. I kind of wish that for the Kenner figures, they could have had a little button release, like a little button press, where that jaw would have pushed out. Would have further added to the retro goodness that these figures are. Again, he is a very tall figure. I guess for being more alien themed, you could probably have the figure standing upright. It does at least have afforded peg holes on the underside of their feet, which I did make use of at the beginning of this review by using a display stand. And of course you can accommodate that as well if you so wish, but the figures seem to... It's a well enough balanced figure that if you pose the leg in such a way, and because he's got the little toe pivot, you can bend it and still have a fairly strong standing figure. Of course, you would require a little bit of luck, a little bit of finesse. The tail gives you a little extra mileage because it does have a wireframe, but it's not a specifically long tail. But it does certainly help adding a little bit of extra stability if you want to have the figure, posed with the legs bent, for example. And we'll just kind of bring the figure forward and after all that, you would hope that the figure I can actually get to stand. Now, one thing I will stress though, and this seems to be a problem with this particular figure, is I find the knees are relatively, I shouldn't say relatively, but they are starting to get loose. I just recently got this out of packaging, so I can't tell you whether that be the case with every single figure. I don't know if mold wear is starting to become an issue with some of these figures where, you know, getting them immediately out of packaging, something like loose joints in the knees could be a problem that you're already facing. But I did notice though that the legs specifically, this one's not so bad. This knee here is a little on the loose side. So I don't know if that's going to be the case with every single one of these figures that's released. It probably is just my luck, because sometimes I do get these figures and they're relatively loose. Despite that, though, still a great looking figure. Not really much covering new territory here, but again, really great looking figure. Let's go through its posability. Its head rotates left and right. It does actually have a ball joint, and these little tubes are sculpted to the back of the torso. So it seems like they're forgiving enough that if you move it, they've allotted just enough clearance that it seems like the head can still rotate, and it doesn't seem like you're adding stress to these potentially breaking off. The mouth, of course, opens and closes. Doesn't give you a complete closed mouth, so it kind of gives you like the older look of these where the mouth still kind of remains open as opposed to a closed grill of teeth. The arms hinge outward as well as a rotation all the way around. Does have a what looks to be only a single bend in the elbow. Rotation also in the hand, and you can also hinge that back and forth. The upper torso does have a ball joint, a very nice ball joint like that. And the forward back motion on the legs split outward. You got your double hinge on the knee. Once again, stress starting to develop on my particular knee. It's a little on the loose side. And then you've got the hinge back and forth on the foot. You do have your ankle rock, your ankle pivot, and you also have the toe articulation, articulating basically the four toes together. Once again, NECA has shown that they can go back to the mold archive and basically dust off an existing mold that they had used before and give it a brand new coat of paint, so to speak. Normally that would bother me with other toy companies, but it doesn't seem to bother me so much with NECA because NECA just isn't simply re-releasing this figure. They're re-releasing it, but they're re-releasing it with this really nice translucent blue. And the end result is, I think, a figure that still looks really good. Sure, and it's using an older mold, but I think much like the green release that we got before, this new warrior alien from the banner of the Kenner line, I think really showcases quite nicely, and it does stand out among the other Xenomorph figures that you may have already in your collection. About the only thing I really would nitpick about the figure itself is I do worry long-term re-releasing these figures that things such as joints could become a loose problem. Of course, Xenomorphs in general, the very nature of the way that they are broken down, their joints do tend to get a little loose over the course of time of displaying them. It's a shame, though, that this particular warrior alien was sort of loose already when I got it out of packaging. Despite that, it's still a great looking figure, and I really like how it was taken to a brand new level by giving a translucent blue and that really nice white dusting of paint. Today, once again, we were checking out the brand new NECA aliens. This was the warrior alien, and it's under the sort of Kenner banner. If you guys like this video, certainly hit it with a like down below. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button down below. You won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. And speaking of future videos, make sure you hit also that little bell notification below this particular video and turn on the notifications so when new videos hit this channel, you'll always know when they're available. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.